Welcome back, Turning Hard Times to Good Times. I'm your host, Jay Taylor, and I'm happy to tell you that Quinton Hennigh is back with me after the break here to talk about Lion One Mining. Lion One Mining's Tuvatu project in Fiji is a remarkable story. It's one that I knew something about years ago. It had something a little under 500,000 ounces, high-grade ounces, but kind of small to justify the capital cost. And then more recently, thanks in large part to Dr. Quinton Hennigh, the company discovered that they had something much bigger than what they had earlier had envisioned. And it seems to be panning out that way. So we're really happy to have Dr. Hennigh with us to talk about Lion One's. LIO is a symbol in Canada, LOMLF in the U.S., 146.4 million shares, selling at 93 cents in U.S. money earlier today, giving it a market cap around $136 million. Thank you for coming back here, Quinton. Can you tell our listeners that, what you have learned over the past couple of years after you came up with this notion that it was an alkaline deposit and that it had the potential to be much, much larger than what was initially envisioned? What have you learned since then?
Yeah, look, what we've learned is the thing is deep-rooted, which is what one would expect of a system of this type. The magma chamber that generated the gold mineralization is probably parked somewhere down below, a kilometer or two below. In fact, it's probably more like 2 kilometers now that we have this deep drilling done. But it's kind of conforming to the model. I think that's the real takeaway here is that Lion One, they did a great job drilling up the shallower part of the resource, but now we've identified the root structures, or at least one of them, and it's this 500 zone. Look, the drilling there has exceeded expectations. It just every time holes go through the area, they return fantastic results. I think in this news release we had 23 grams over 3 meters. That included a higher grade intercept. 118 grams over 0.3 meters. We had 25.8 grams over 2.7 meters, included a high-grade interval of 43 grams over 0.3 meters, and then we had 87.83 grams per ton over a meter and a half. Again, included very high-grade 108 grams over 0.6 meters. Look, it basically is saying the system is getting higher grade at depth, and it's also crystallizing better. Like we can see the picture now of multiple structures at depth that are all high grade. To give people a perspective, the shallow part of this resource, the area that's been drilled and is part of the existing resource, delivers on the order of about 2,500 ounces per vertical meter. Mm-hmm. And now this most recent news release has confirmed that mineralization extends to 1,150 meters below surface. Look, that's a lot of runway. So I'm not saying we've drilled it out by any stretch, but the fact that every time they drill holes down there, they hit high grade, it clearly indicates that the system could deliver a lot more gold than the small resource you mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah, and getting richer at depth, is this typical of these alkaline deposits? I mean, I guess it depends on erosion and other factors, but
yeah, it is fairly typical. Some of the best mineralization can be found closer to the source as you go downwards. Mm-hmm. It's just the nature of the beast. These things often have some of the best grade deposits or structures at depth. It's the same at Cripple Creek, at Porgera. The Romani structure was the highest grade. Like I could ramble them off, but they all, like at Macassa even in Ontario. I think the Central Mineralized Zone, or whatever they call it, the CMZ, I think, that one is delivering phenomenal grades as well, and that's quite deep. But that is kind of the way these systems form, that you can think of them like a tree, and as you go upwards, you go up through the trunk, and then the bigger branches start, and then the smaller and smaller and smaller. So by the time you get up to the top, you're dealing with a multitude of smaller and generally lower grade structures, but as you come down to the trunk, you can get some really flash results. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see even more news out of the company over the next year or so as they continue to drill this.
So these things can go down, I think I heard you say maybe a couple thousand meters?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, give you an example, Vaticola, which is nearby Tuvatu, I think is mined down to 1,230 meters. It's wide open at depth still. Porgera is open. I think they mine down probably to 1.5 kilometers now, and it's wide open at depth. Macassa goes down over 2 kilometers. Cripple Creek about 1.3 kilometers. I mean, basically all of these things are deep rooted, and they can be some big prizes down as you chase the system down and find that trunk.
Yeah, if you said there's 200 or 2,500 ounces per vertical meter at the lower grade, like 10 grams per ton, I guess maybe it might have actually get richer in the 500 zone, probably quite a bit richer, and who knows.
We've done an exercise, I think in the news release somewhere there, you can see reference, but they did a weighted average grade of the structures in the 500 zone, and they're north of 20 grams per ton, so it is getting higher grade.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. There's other targets there too. I mean, it's over a 7 kilometer. I think there's a number of targets that have been identified on surface. And are they doing any drilling on those, or what? Basically, what is the focus of the company now?
They will be doing more and more drilling on those, but the focus right now, there's two kind of prongs to the exploration. One is to do all of the necessary infill for the immediate mine plan. So that's a big focus, a big intensive drill component right now. And then this deeper drilling on the 500 zone. The team at site, Sergio and his team, have identified other structures at depth that they're going to test. So I guess the best way to put it, Jay, right now, they're going to start stepping out and testing more of these 500 zone type targets in and around the Tuvatu system, kind of grow from the centroid outwards rather than just kind of wing drill holes in here and there. Now, we are going to do some more geophysics. I think that's critical because the geophysics is what helped identify the 500 structural zone. And now that COVID is kind of in the rear view mirror, we can get people back into Fiji. They can do this work, and I think that will give us better definition on some of the more distal targets so that we can better sharpshoot those in the future.
I should mention there's a quote from, I don't know if it was Wally Burkhoff or it was at least in a press release January 25th. It says, "Our objective remains clear, to work towards a near-term, modest production start, concomitant with an aggressive exploration program aimed at the continued expansion of bonanza-grade resources, both near surface and along defined feeder conduits at greater depths, for the eventual scaled-up development of a larger and more valuable resource." Now, I know the company is planning to go into some modest production. By modest production, what do they have in mind, and how soon do you think actually production might take place there, Quinton?
Yeah, the target for getting a production in place is the end of 2023, and the scale that they're talking about right now is on the order of maybe 300 or 400 tons per day, which would translate, it's a modest scale. It might translate to 25 to 35,000 ounces per year, something on that order. Now, it can be scaled up, and that's what the quote that you just read is referring to. As they find and evaluate this higher grade mineralization at depth, this can be scaled up. The production can be scaled up on the back of the success of this exploration. And I think that's a beautiful path for the project going forward. I think it's a great outcome.
What sort of Capex do they have a handle on that? I know they're doing engineering, so and really moving towards this goal of modest production. Is it going to require a considerable amount of capital to get started, even on a small scale?
In my view, a lot of the capital has actually been sunk already. Like if you look, they are actively putting in workings and so forth, development workings. Mm-hmm. And they've also got a lot of their prep work done for the pads and so forth. So the capital, I don't have a final number yet. I haven't seen a final number out of the company, and I really don't deal with that end of the spectrum.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's on the order of a few tens of millions of bucks. It's actually pretty modest, and I think the company can achieve it.
Company well funded now, as far as you know, Quinton? I know, again, that's not your forte, but
last I heard, the company had around 45-ish, I think, Canadian, something in that realm. So yeah, they're doing well.
All right. So I guess investors should just keep their eyes on the news and watch for these drill results and progress towards production.
Correct.
All right. All right. Well, it's a very exciting story. I mean, these alkaline systems, as you pointed out before, can be huge. They can be very, very profitable. Usually, major mining companies end up putting them into production. I suppose at some point in time, I imagine that might be a possibility here. But for now, the company's building, hoping to grow organically, and I guess fund its expansion through early startup if things work out all right. So. Thank you so much, Quinton, for helping us out with these companies, especially Lion One here, and we'll look to keep up with you in the future. All right.